We will begin the fin-tastic Sleep and Snuggle Sack in just a moment. Hi everyone, it's Mikey and I'm proud to introduce a brand new pattern series by Yarnspirations.com. It's called the Sleep and Snuggle Sack series. On screen now are other sleep sacks that are available in free pattern and tutorial format. Whimsical and delightful projects that will practically guarantee a warm smile from boys and girls. Super terrific for gift giving and much more. If you're wanting to try another sleep sack, then just click to play and I'll forward you directly to the next one. If you're wanting to do today's project, well, don't wait any further. Let's get started right now. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Let's begin today's tutorial and you're definitely going to need a bigger hook because today we are working on the fin-tastic Sleep and Snuggle Sack from Yarnspirations.com. This shark, minus my filming and preparation time, only took me 15 hours to make. The project was like less than 2 days. It was quite fabulous and you'll be surprised on how fast it will go. On screen now is the anatomy of the shark and we will return back to my workshop chalkboard between each lesson. There are 10 different steps which indicate my lessons and every time we finish one we'll come right back here. We'll get you started on the next. Okay, so let's begin to go fishing and let's start hooking up our fin-tastic shark. Now let's start with the main body and move on to chapter number 1. Let's begin the main body of the shark, and the main body of the shark is from approximately up here to about here. Okay, so this whole upper jaw is later on in the tutorial, but we're going to start at the eyes and we're going to work our way back and then eventually it's going to stop and we're going to taper in. Today's tutorial I'm going to go off the beaten track a little bit and I'm going to show you how to avoid the seam line so that you can turn this in any direction and still never see a seam. So that's a kind of a cool idea today. So what you're going to need today is a tape measure in order to measure from 24 inches from when you start to all the way to the tube. You're also going to start and you're going to be using a size L 8mm crochet hook today, and this particular body is made with the pale gray for the Bernat blanket yarn. So let's begin and let's pull up your crochet hook and yarn and let's get started. So let's get our pale gray yarn, and this is Bernat blanket and your size L 8mm crochet hook today. We're going to start and we're just going to create a slip knot and just place it onto the hook, and remember that never counts as one. So for this particular one we have to chain 80. So remember that doesn't count as one, so you're just going to yarn over, pull through. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and please go all the way to 80 for me and then meet me back here and I'm going to show you how to close this off, and we're going to do a big tube from this point where the child can slip into. So now I have my chain 80 and what I want to do is I just want to pull it out and I want to make sure it's not twisting at all, and I want to get to the very, and I'm just eyeing it out here. I'm making sure that there's no weird twists, and if you have one you can pretty well fake it in the end, but as long as it's not too severe, I wouldn't recommend it. Just try your best and try to get all of this so that there is no weird twists or turns. So once I have it out here, I'm going to then put this onto the hook and take in the yarn strand that leads to the yarn. I want to pull that yarn through and through, and that will complete this off. So the child is going to be inside this ring. It will stretch. This is Bernat blanket yarn. It's fabulous for that. So let's begin round number 1, and let me show you the secret after you're done this particular round that will avoid the slip stitch. So let's begin round number 1. We're going to chain up 2, and this is just going to get us started, and what we want to do is that we want to come into the next one and we only want to get one loop only, and now you're going to see it. It's going to be on the back side. Okay, so I want you to slide in. Once you do the first one it's going to be good. So just wrap the hook and do a half double crochet into the back loop only, and just half double crochet in just like that. Okay, so now that the first half double crochet is in, the next one is just right in front of you. So you just gotta be a little bit relaxed with it and just go with it and just wrap the hook and going in, and what you just want to do is half double crochet in. Now for those that are new to crochet or relatively newbies, you just take your time with the chain. It does take a little bit of work in order to work it like so. Okay, so I have a different camera angle than what you're seeing here on camera, and so because of that it's a little harder for me. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to half double crochet into each one of the back loops, and I'm going to pull it so it's easier for me to see, and then I'll meet you back here when I'm across this, and then I'll show you how to join it so that you have no slip stitching. Okay, so I'm now back and I've just come along my chain. So I'm coming along here and I've got one more left to do. So what I want to do before I join is that I got to make sure I follow this top edge up. So just follow it. Okay, just go up and around. Okay, and I see it coming around and I see it coming around and it's on the top here. Now if this was accidentally turned away, like for example say this was like this, then if I followed it and it was like this, you would see that it would turn over and it's on the underside. So I want to make sure that it stays on top so that both are being in. So I'm gonna come into my last stitch for putting this together. And it's important that you stick to your 80 going all the way around. Once you get this, now here's the thing. I want you to, at this point, is that actually I think I got one more stitch to go. So I'm gonna do one more stitch. Sorry about that. And what I want to do is that I want to put a stitch marker right in this last one that I just did. So just grabbing a piece of yarn, okay, and every time you get to this point you're going to move up the stitch marker. Okay, so you're just going to pull it through and leave it sitting in there. So every time you know you're all the way around. So if you want to follow the instructions and you want to have so that it has the slip stitching, all you just need to do is join it to the top of the beginning of the first half double crochet, chain 2. That does not count as a stitch, and then start with half double crochet all the way around. But what I'm gonna tell you to do this time is that if you want to avoid that seam line so that you don't have a line up going through your shark, then all you just have to do is start on the next one right here and just immediately just start as a half double crochet. It's gonna look a little awkward right in the spot the very first time you do it, and you know what, the question is, do you want a line up going up through your shark, or do you just want it being awkward in one spot? That's your question. So what I want you to do is that I want you to just continue to half double crochet all the way around this thing, and then every time you hit the stitch marker you're going to move the stitch marker up, and I'll show you how to do that once. And then you just have to grow this tube shape to be a total of 24 inches from the top of it all the way to the other side when you get it done. So I'm just going to continue here. I better redo that stitch. Too busy yakking here. And I just wanted to continue to half double crochet all the way around, and I'll see you back here in just a moment. So now coming up around again, I'm not counting the rows because I'm going to be using a tape measure. So I'm coming to the stitch marker stitch, which is going to be the next one after this one. I'm continuing to half double crochet. Here it is right here, and in this one here I want to move that stitch marker up. So I'm just gonna slip underneath the stitch like so, grab this stitch marker and just pull it through. So I'm not gonna pull it all the way through, I'm just gonna pull a portion of it, and by the time I get all the way to the end you'll see this stitch marker line going in and out. So I want you now to continue to do exactly what you're doing, and you're going to measure from 24 inches. So let me just get this out of the way. You're gonna measure 24 inches from this point all the way to the other point. So you're just gonna go round and around. If you're doing the slip stitching you're gonna do the same thing. Let me show you where you are on the shark. So just to reiterate, where we've started is right here at the eyes, and we're working our way back. So continue to go round and around, and when I come back I'm going to be at the 24 inch mark. I'm gonna have to take probably a few hours in order to do that. Remember that this is 80 stitches around, which is almost equivalent to an entire afghan going in the back and forth motion. Because this is a three-dimensional project, you'll notice that this area will take you a little bit of time, but really you are making an afghan for a child, so when you really think about it. So continue to do that, and I'll see you at this particular area, and I'll continue to half double crochet going all the way around for all the remainder until it gets to be 24 inches wide for a tube-like shape. When I last left you we were down here at the bottom, and I told you that we had to do a 24 inch panel. So I've done it in the way that I'm going in a continuous circle all the way around. So when I go to flip this over, I'm not quite done this. I've just got one partial revolution left because I want to show you something. So what I realized here right in the very beginning is that I could actually just let that go and just measure out my 24 inches because I don't have any slip stitching marks because I've gone in a continuous circle. So this is where I started, and this is where I want to pay attention to. So what I'm gonna do is that when I come around, this is where I'm gonna stop over here. Okay, so it's gonna be directly, just eye it up and just go directly across. Now here's the thing. In the next part of this tutorial we're going to be doing the shaping of the body, which is reliant on this area here, but you need to make sure you have your your 80 stitches going all the way around. Say you had, and I had this, and I'll just be very honest about it, I had actually 81 stitches here and not 80. So what I just did is that I did a 2 together up over here in order to bring it. But if you've not counted that and made sure, you can do that right here at the end. It's important this comes down back to 80. So for example, say you have 78, I would choose an opposite side of each other and put 2 half double crochets into the same stitch to give you back your 80. And if you have too many, if maybe 82, then what I would do is choose 2 areas and do 2 together stitches in order to do that. So that's what you need to do. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna finish up this round. This is a total of 24 and it's gonna be all the way to the end of the other side. And what I'm gonna just do is finish that, and then we're gonna move along to the shaping of the body, which is then going to start the tapering effect. And at this point I've almost used 2 balls of the Bernat blanket yarn. So now I'm finished with the main body. This is 24 inches long and this is where I started, and I just stopped. If you're doing the continuous method, just stop here. Do not do anything fancy here because we're gonna pick up that in just a moment as we start the shaping of the body, which is the tail area. So or going over to the tail. So what we want, this is gonna be the opening. The eyes are gonna be around here somewhere, and then the jaws are gonna be expanding from this area. Leave in this stitch marker so you know which side that you were working on, and we're gonna continue with this. So let's progress into this tutorial. Let's go back to the chalkboard and let's move along to chapter number 2, the body shaping. Good stuff. So now that we're finished the main body, we need something more in order for the shark to swim. So let's jump right back in the water and start doing the body shaping for chapter number 2. So we're back on the chalkboard now, and now it's time for the body shaping, just like you see. Now we're gonna go from the dorsal fin area here, and this is approximately where we are. I'm really not sure until we start doing measurements of where this fin goes, but we're about here, and you can see that it starts to taper in. So what we're going to do is that we're gonna start with a progressive taper that is going to start us off, and then it's gonna get smaller and smaller as we get in. The advantage to this part of the tail area, it's not gonna be as wide as this, so therefore it's gonna get faster and faster as we work our way down to the tail. So it's important at this point that you have 80 stitches going all the way around half double crochets, because the progressive decrease is based on that. So if you don't have 80, just make do, either add a stitch if you're missing stitches, or decrease just before you start this next process in order to keep the tail consistent. You can fake it at this point if you are wrong. So what we're going to do is that we're gonna move along to the body shaping next. So going back to the pattern, we're going to move over here, shape the body. This is chapter number 2, and we're gonna do about 30 rounds of this starting here, and we're gonna work our way through the instructions, and of course I'm gonna be on camera with you to do so for this entire length as we continue to decrease. So we're gonna decrease on our first round going around, and then the next 5 rounds, which are 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, are just half double crochets into each, which is simple, and then we're gonna decrease again, and we're gonna continue to do this so it's a nice progressive tail area instead of being so blunt. So instead of just being like a hot dog bun that just has a tail, it's gonna progress just like it would on a shark. Let's continue with the body shaping, and let's start off and grab a project and let's show you what to do. So let's begin. For those doing the continuous circle method like I am, you need to do this. So you need to grab another stitch marker, not the same one, leave that other one in that we have at the other one, and I want you to put a stitch marker under the last stitch that you were just at. This will indicate where you stopped and start. It's really important now from this point forward that you maintain where this is in order to keep it balanced, so that you know when you stop and start around. It gets really difficult on these kind of things to be able to tell without really having a backup plan like this. So let's begin. We're going to put our hook back in. For those doing the regular method of the slip stitch, then you're just going to chain up 2, half double crochet into the same one, and then begin. So what we're going to do for those continuing, so for those that are doing the slip stitch method, I just assume that I've chained 2 and I've half double crocheted. So what we're going to do is that we're going to half double crochet into the next 8. Okay, so let's continue and count. So we got 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you got your 8 in there, and now we're gonna do a progressive decrease. So we're gonna go, the next 2 stitches are gonna be together. They're gonna be half double crochet together. You wrap the hook going into the next stitch, pull through, keep everything on the hook, wrap the hook again, going into the next one after that, pull through. You now have 5 loops on your hook. yarn over and pull through all 5 loops, and that's a half double crochet 2 together. So these two just became one. So the repeat pattern, which I will leave with you for the remainder of this round, is that the next 8 will be half double crochet. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8, and then the next 2 are together. So these 2 are together, so wrap the hook going into the next, pull through, going into the next one, so wrap going into the next one after that, pull through. You got 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 5, and that's a half double crochet 2 together. So continue that. So 8 in a row, and then the next 2 are together, 8 in a row, and do that all the way till you get back to the stitch marker. And if you're doing the slip stitching method, then just until you get back to the slip stitching, and I'll see you back there in just a moment. So I'm coming up all the way back around. If my math is right, the final 2 stitches, which happens to be my case because you have your 80, is the 2 together. Okay, so this, see how we started with half double crochets 8 and then we did 2 together, so the last 2 together should be the last 2 stitches. So if it's working out for you, that's what it should be. So the last 2 stitches are 2 together, just like that, and then what you want to do is move up that stitch marker. So just pull this out, and that stitch marker, like you did before, just move that up so you know where the next beginning is when you come all the way around. So let's move along to rounds 2 3 4 5 and 6 next. So now that 2 are together, if you did the slip stitch, then you're just going to do a slip stitch to the next one to join, and then you begin the next round of chain 2 and then half double crochet into the same one. If you're doing continuous around, just hold where you are because you're ready for the next round already, because you're gonna progress right into it. So let's begin rounds 2 3 4 5 and 6, which is 5 rounds. So let me get you started for the ones that are just doing the slip stitch, chain 2, half double crochet into the first one. For those doing in the continuous method like this, it's just 1 half double crochet into each. Make sure that you do 5 revolutions of 1 half double crochet into each. Same thing with the slip stitching people as well, just 5 rounds. So I'm gonna let you do that here, and then I'll meet you back here and we'll start the next progression for decrease as we move forward. So 1 half double crochet in each for rounds 2 3 4 5 and 6, and I'll see you back here in just a moment after we get that done. Okay, I'm now concluding round number 6. In round number 6 there was just half double crochets for round 2 3 4 5 and 6. So I'm gonna stop at the stitch marker. Of course, if you're doing the slip stitch method that's called for in the pattern, if you're doing it that way, obviously you're gonna stop at that point, and we're gonna move on to round number 7 together, where we're going to do the half double crochet decrease again, another form of it. Sorry. So I'm now concluding round number 6 right to the end, and I'm going right to the stitch marker. If you're doing the slip stitch method, you're obviously gonna finish at that point. For those continuing to do the continuous method, just move up your stitch marker so you know exactly where you are. So let's move on to round number 7. In round number 7 we're gonna do another decrease. If you look at it really from this point of view, you can see that it's starting to taper a little bit, not too aggressive as far as coming way in, but it's now starting to take the shape as it makes its way to the tail. Okay, for those doing the slip stitching method, you're going to chain 2, half double crochet into the same one, and then follow the instructions from that point. And then for you doing the continuous, you're going to start along with me. So you're gonna half double crochet in the first one, and therefore we're going to continue. So the first one plus the next 6, so there's gonna be 7 in a row. That's gonna be half double crochet. So this one, and then we're gonna say the next one is 2, next one is 3, 4, 5 and 6 and 7. So there's 7 in a row, and then the next 2 are gonna be together. So half double crochet that one. So you're gonna start it, not finish it, wrap the hook, go in for another one in the next one. So you got 5 loops back on your hook and pull through all 5 loops, and that's a half double crochet 2 together. So again, this continuous round, I'm just gonna tell you it's 7 half double crochets in a row, and the next 2 are together, and continue to do that all the way back around to the beginning again, whether it's the stitch marker or whether you're doing the slip stitching method. We'll see you back there in just a moment. I'm coming up all the way around. On round number 7, the final 2 will be 2 together if you're keeping your counts accurate, and regardless if you're doing the slip stitch method or the continuous round, just like you see, either way the last 2 will be that way. So it's a slip stitching, you're going to join to the next one and then chain up 2 and then half double crochet into the next, just like are in the same one. And then for everybody else doing the continuous, make sure you move up that stitch marker before you forget. So round number 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12 are going to all be identical again. We're just gonna move back to the half double crochet, and this will again cause the taper to go even more. So it's a nice progressive taper. So please do rounds number 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 with 1 half double crochet into each stitch going all the way around. That's for 5 rounds, and I'll see you there at the end of round number 12. We'll see ya. I've now just finished round number 12, and you can see when I folded them over, you can see it's a bit of a difference from where we started, and you can see the taper starting to come in. So now I've already done my slip stitch, or sorry, my finishing. I moved up my stitch marker. Of course, if you're doing the slip stitching method, you'll have to move that up as well. So let's move on to round number 13. Round number 13 we're gonna do another decrease. So this time we're going, if you're doing the slip stitch method, chain 2 half double crochet into the first one, which is your first one. If you're doing it my way, just make sure that this first one is going to be 6 in a row. So that was 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So there's 6 in a row, and then the next 2 are together. Okay, so to put those 2 together, these are half double crochets, don't forget, and you're gonna carry on all the way around for round number 13 the same way. So 6 in a row and then 2 together, 6 in a row, 2 together, and please do that all the way back to the start. So coming up all the way around on round number 13, the final 2 are going to be together if you're keeping your counts, and this is going to decrease obviously this whole round. So those 2 are together. If you're doing the slip stitching method, just join with the beginning one, then you're gonna start up chain 2, then half double crochet to the next. So for those continuing in my method, you can see that this really did kind of pull it in, as you see here. And so now what we're going to do for rounds number 14, 15, 16 and 17, 18, so 5 rounds, you're going to do 1 half double crochet into each. So I'll meet you at the end of round number 18. So remember 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18 is all just 1 half double crochet into each stitch going all the way around. So I've now just completed round number 18. Again, you can see that it's even coming even more. It starts tapering here, comes down in and continuing. So it's just gonna be laying flat out. So what I have today now is for round number 19 we're gonna decrease even more. So again, the people that are slip stitching, do what you need to do, and then for everybody doing my method, because I've already explained it several times, is just continue along. So the next 5 half double crochets are gonna be singles, are gonna be by themselves. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So those 5 are by themselves, and then the next 2 are together. So that's this whole round for round number 19. So do the next 5 in a row and then the next 2 together, and continue that all the way around till you get back to the stitch marker or to the start. So I'll see you back there, and then we'll begin all the next rounds from that point. Okay, coming back around on round number 19, as we're decreasing, the final 2 are together if you're keeping counts accurate, and that's not a big surprise to any of you, I'm sure, because you've been following along so far. So what we're gonna just do is move up the stitch marker for round number 19. It is now done. So now I need you to do rounds number 20, 21, 22, 23 and 24. There's 5 rounds. Again, those people that are slip stitching, do your magic, and those that are continuing my method, it's just 1 half double crochet into each one for the next 5 rounds, which are rounds number 20, 21, 22, 23 and 24. Please meet me and we'll finish up round number 24 together and then carry on. We're almost done. There's only 30 rounds of the tail, and when I say only, I bet you're glad to be getting this part done. So this is probably the most part of the work that we have involved for this whole shark project. So let's meet back up and after round number 24. So I'm now just finishing up row number 24, ready for row 25. Again, you see the taper is beautiful. Just loving it. At this point I did take a measuring tape. It's already 43 inches from the bottom here to the top. What you're also going to notice as we're finishing up, we only have 5 more rows to go. 5. and what we're gonna have is a flat edge right at the very end, and then we're gonna sew, and then the tail is then part of that, but not together made from it, but attached to that flat part. So what we're going to do then is move up to row number 25, and again, if you're doing the slip stitching with you just have to chain up one or chain up two and then half double crochet in the same one. For everybody else doing it my way, because you don't see any slip stitching marks because there is none, and what we have here is that this time around it's going to be half double crochet in the next 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then 2 together. Okay, so that's the repeat for this whole thing for this particular round. So that's round number 25. And then once we get this round done, then the remaining rows all the way to 30 are just 1 half double crochet into each. So again, it's just 4 in a row. So that was 1, 2, 3 and 4, and the next 2 are together. Okay, so continue to do that for row number 25. Okay, round 25 is done. Now rounds 26, 27, 28, 29 and 35 rounds, and again, those doing the slip stitch, do your magic. Everybody else, it's just continuing along, and it's just half double crochet into each, and please do that for the next 5 rounds. And when we come back, this is it. That's the end of the tail, and I'm gonna show you how to sew it, what things to look for, especially if you've done it in the method that I've shown you. I'm going to show you a tip, and then anybody else you can pick up the tips from that as well. So please do the next 5 rounds, 26, 27, 28, 29 and 30, and the main body and the shaping is then complete on your shark. I'm now coming around to the final of finishing around number 30, which is the final. So for those that are doing the continuous method where there is no slip stitching at all, then I need you to finish off slightly different from those that are doing the slip stitching, and I need you to count back from the 4. So count the one that's in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I just got 2 more to go. So I'm just gonna half double crochet the next 2, and the last 4 I want you to handle it differently. Okay, we need to bring it back in balance, because right now if I end like this, you're gonna have like a jetting out shape like this. So the next one, okay, so this is the 4th one in, I want you to single crochet. The next one I want you to single crochet. The next one I want you to slip stitch, and the next one I want you to slip stitch. This is the final. Okay, so what I want you to do then is that we're gonna fasten off this yarn at this point, and what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna show you some tips on sewing this shut. So this is what the bottom looks like. It's completely open like this, so we're gonna have to seal it shut, but I want to show you what to look for on your shark and before you do so. So let's weave in this ends, and we're gonna use a fresh piece of yarn in order to sew this shut, and I'll show you some tips in a moment. So let's sew our tail shut, and when we looked at the pattern just like so, we have it so that the shark is laying down and we have a flat edge that is right here. So the tail is sewn to this flat edge which we're about to create on here. So what's happened is that this is gonna be lining up directly down the center. So for those that did the continuous circle like I did, what I want you to do is go back to your very first stitch marker. If you didn't leave it there, just look for where you started. You can pretty well tell. And I want you to fold it in a way that it looks even going straight down through. So even if you unfold it, it's still coming straight down, and etc. So you can just keep doing it until you get to the bottom. So no matter where I finish here, it doesn't matter. This is where I want to fold it. So what I can do at this point is that I can take out this stitch marker that was in there, that's out, and it's still folded right where I need it to. So using the same color yarn, use a slip knot on the other side. Okay, just like you're starting a crochet project, and I just want you to come across and do a whip stitch. So just going straight across and in, okay, like so. So just straight across the 2 edges, pull it through, and before you pull it all the way through, put the needle through the slip knot, and that will lock it into position. Okay, so pull it nice and tight. Okay, now use this straggler and just trap it. So just advance 1 more stitch, so just move down, and then just going across the road to the same stitch on the other side, and just making sure the straggler just stays down on top of the line. And if you do that, then it will be permanently in position. And if you don't want to do that, then you can just use a darning needle and just slide it in behind the stitches anyway. Okay, so we're just gonna move our way down. So advance another stitch on one side, another stitch on the other. Okay, and just pull through. So you're gonna whip stitch this completely closed on the bottom. Advance one more stitch. So please do that all the way down. Now that I'm pretty well satisfied this will be the last time you see this. This is gonna be on the inside anyway, the straggler, so you could leave it on the inside. Of course, if you got a child playing with something like this, you probably want to make sure that you get rid of any loose ends, like so. Okay, so what I want you to do is continue to whip stitch your tail shut and then fasten off. I'll come back at the end of this row. I'll show you how to fasten in and get rid of your loose ends at that point as well. So it's a great little lesson as well to do that. So just keep on going and I'll see you at the end of this tail area. So now that I'm all the way across, I've got it all whip stitched. Now I'm gonna finish it off. Now you'll notice here, do you see, if you follow the visual, you'll see that you can see that it was a continuous round because it just suddenly stopped. But when you did the sewing, it flattens everything off, so it looks really quite fabulous. So at the end, what you want to do is just tie a knot, which I've already done, and all I'm just gonna do with the loose ends is that I'm gonna weave it in and out of the project 3 times. So that was 1, and this weaving allows it to hide your ends permanently. So it was 1 going in the other direction but through a different path. You can't go through the exact same path or it'll come out. So there's 2, and then going in a different path for 3. Anytime you do your weaving ends like this, your work will never fall out because you can't stretch this project 3 different directions in order for this to come loose. So once you're now satisfied with that, you just trim it right down to the project and you'll never see where you started and stopped. So it's a really okay, so your shark is starting to really come together now, but it really doesn't look like a shark yet. Let's give our shark an upper jaw and let's move on to chapter number 3. The next part of this tutorial we're going to move on and we're going to do the jaws of the shark. The top and the bottom jaw are the same. So it doesn't matter at this point the way that we're gonna lay it out. It doesn't matter which one is up or down until you put on the dorsal fin and the eyes, and then it determines what's up or down. So what you're gonna notice here is that we're going to do the upper jaw first, and then we are just gonna do the gray, and then we're gonna turn this over and do the bottom jaw. Now you see the gums and the teeth. You cannot do those yet. You have to make sure both jaws are on, because what you're going to notice if you look further on in the pattern is that these gums and teeth are wrapping around the entire circumference of it once the mouth is open. So you're not just doing the teeth on one side and then coming back on the bottom jaw and doing the teeth. It's all the way around. So just make sure you watch out for that. Now the counts are really important. So let me show you how to get set up with this particular item. So what I want you to do is that I want you to lay out your item in front of you. It could be on a table. It'd probably be better on a table or a floor. And I need you to lay it flat. So you got to make sure that this tail area stays flat, just like you see here. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna lay it out and you're gonna press it in half. Now you had 80 stitches going all the way around. 40 of them are going to be on top and 40 are on the bottom. By folding it in half, the way that I'm gonna show you here is that you can get 40 stitches on top, and we're gonna just go back and forth and do the upper jaw, and then we're gonna come back and do the lower jaw. So this is an easy way to tell. So we have to mark the outsides first before we can do anything, and once you do that, that pretty well qualifies for the top and the bottom jaw. So here at the studio I laid it down flat and I just folded it up just for demonstration purposes, but if you fold it back all the way down you'll notice that it's completely flat here. So this is the mouth opening. This is where the child will slide into, and this is roughly at the halfway point. So if I pull up like this, you know that stitch marker that we had right in the middle is pretty well in half. It should be pretty close to it, and therefore it will stay in balance for you here. So this is pretty good. So what I need to do is that I'm gonna mark an edge, and I haven't even counted anything. I'm just gonna mark it with a stitch marker, and I'm gonna mark one of them on the one side. And I want to make sure I count. It's important on the counts for this particular item on this part of the tutorial. So I'm going to count that as 1. So I need a total of 40. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. So what I'm gonna do is in the 40 mark is that I'm going to put the stitch marker there. So that is the upper jaw area. Okay, so if your counts are right, what's gonna happen is that this is your 40 mark right here. So the underside starting in the next stitch to the next stitch that's just right directly below is your other 40, that is the lower jaw. So this is the way I want you to look at it. So make sure your seam is underneath. Okay, you're looking at it from the top, you have your side marked, and what we're going to do is then we're gonna start right here and just start going across, and then we're gonna come back and forth in order to create the jaw. So coming back to the photograph, I want to show you something here. There is 4 rows that involve the jaw before you start doing a repeat row, and you're going to notice right especially in here, you notice that it just doesn't just start going boom. Okay, it actually comes out a little bit and then it goes in. So the first 4 rows that we start, and it looks like it's just about the eyes, it's gonna come almost straight out a little bit. It's gonna be a little bit tapered, and then it's gonna really decrease and suck in. Our goal is to have 18 stitches by the time we get to the outside jaw here that's flat. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna start off with rows 1, 2, 3, and the 4th is the repeat pattern, and you continue doing the 4th until you end up with 18 stitches left over here. That 18 is really important because the fact is that these stitches have to work together, and because they work together it makes the teeth align perfectly. So let's begin and add on our new yarn. Same color, it's the gray, the pale gray. Put it onto your hook, and I want you to go into the first stitch marker. Okay, and that will be your first stitch that you're going into, so just slide in, leave your stitch marker there. You don't, it's not bothering anybody at this moment. So just pull through for the slip stitch, chain 2. That chain 2 does not count as a stitch as it says in the pattern, and I want you to come back into that same stitch and actually do a half double crochet. Okay, so when you're going to count this, don't count that chain 2 as anything when you're counting your 40. You shouldn't have to count anyway. You've already done it and marked it with your stitch marker. So I want you to go across. Now this piece that's here, the straggler, just leave it down on top and bury it underneath. So just make sure it wraps around underneath the stitch, and just half double crochet yourself all the way across. So this is the part, remember I said that it doesn't just taper right away, it goes a little bit straight out. This is that part that's doing that. So just half double crochet yourself across until you get to the next stitch marker, and then we're gonna stop and we're gonna turn this, and then we're gonna start doing some taper work at that point. So let me see you at the end over here. So I'm just making my way across, and I'm almost hitting that stitch marker. Just half double crochet across, and I'm gonna go right into that last one where it's marked with the stitch marker, and then I'm gonna turn around. So this is the first row of doing the upper jaw. Remember, the bottom jaw is the same thing as what you're seeing here. So now that I'm there, I can now safely turn my work. So just turn. It's such a big project that I don't turn the whole thing, I just turn a partial of it. So if you pull it forward, you'll see that I don't turn the whole thing, because then I gotta turn it back anyway. So we're going to begin right here, and we're gonna start moving our way up and start doing some taper work on row number 2. In row number 2, we're going to chain up 2. That does not count as a half double crochet. You want to come into the very first stitch right underneath, and we're gonna put this stitch and this stitch together with a half double crochet 2 together. So wrap that hook going into that same stitch. We already know how to do this. Pull through, wrap the hook, and going into the next stitch, pull through. You got 5 loops on the hook, pull through all 5. Okay, so this just became, the first one just became 1. So you're going to then half double crochet all yourself across, except for the very final 2 where you're gonna do 2 together once again to create the start of the taper for the upper jaw. So just half double crochet over, and I'll meet you at the last 2. We'll just review again on tapering, and then we'll move on to the next row. So I'm coming up all the way to the end. Remember that there was a chain 2 there that is not counted as a stitch, so don't think that's an extra chain, because it's not. So what we have to do is that we have to look at it here. Okay, this stitch and this stitch are together. This chain does not count as anything. So we wrap the hook, and these are the final 2 stitches, and we're putting the 2 together like that. And that completes off row number 2. Okay, so let's turn our work back. So again, I just kind of flipped the project the other way, the way it used to be, and then it's not such a hard thing to keep turning this thing over. Let's move along to row number 3. Row number 3, we're going to chain up 2, which does not count as a half double crochet, and we're going to come into the same one right underneath it, and we are going to do a half double crochet. For this particular row, we're not doing any tapering at all. So this is giving it a little bit of more oomph to come out from the body. And so in row number 3, we're just half double crocheting ourselves all the way across. Then row number 4, which is the next row, is a continuous repeat pattern of decreasing on both sides in order for us to get to our 18 stitches that we need in order to be at the tip of the jaw for the shark. So please just half double crochet in every stitch going all the way across. I'm coming up all the way, and the last stitch is the last stitch. Remember, the chain 2 does not count as anything, so you don't play with that stitch. Okay, so you just do your half double crochet right into the end. It looks like it protrudes out, but it balances out once you put your teeth in. So let's turn this work, and let's go for row number 4, which is the final repeat row until we can get 18 stitches along this. So this is the repeat pattern then for the remainder of this until you get your 18. You're going to chain 2, which does not count as anything. You're going to put the first 2 stitches together with the half double crochet 2 together, and then you're gonna half double crochet yourself all the way across until the final 2 stitches, and you're gonna put those 2 together. You're gonna continue to repeat this exact same row until you end up with 18 stitches across. Remember that when you put 2 together, that counts as 1 only. So it's like in this, remember, chain 2 is nothing. So you got 1 2 3 4. So you're gonna continue to do that. I don't know how many rows that's gonna be, so you're gonna have to rely on making sure that when you get closer to this, remember that you started off with 40. So it's gonna take, and you look at the picture of the shark as well, you'll notice that it juts out for quite some time. So you just gotta take your time and just continue to decrease until you get 18, and then when we're gonna then move then to the bottom jaw, where we're gonna repeat exactly what we've just done here, and then once you do the top and the bottom, then you basically get a better idea when you're doing the jaw for the bottom part, obviously. So continue to do that, and on the last 2 I want you to do a decrease, and I'll just meet you there and just review that, and then I'm gonna let you do the rest of the jaw on your own. I'm coming up to the end, and remember that the last chain 2 does not count as anything. So you're just gonna put the last 2 together, and that's it. Okay, so then you turn your work again just like we had before, and you're gonna continue to go back and forth then using the same principle. So you chain up 2, 1 and 2, that doesn't count as anything, same stitches below, and the next stitch you're gonna put those together, half double crochet just like so, and move it down, and then the last 2 you're gonna put those together. Please do that until you can count 18 stitches only across the bottom of the jaw, and you're gonna get smaller and smaller quite quickly actually. So we'll see you back then, and we will review, and then we'll move on to the next part of the jaw, which is the lower part. So now I'm done. I have my 18 here. I'm just gonna weave off this yarn, just take it off, and this is done for the upper jaw. So now we're gonna repeat exactly what you know for the under jaw. I'm going to leave the straggler just weaved in. It's gonna get caught in the gums anyway, so just gonna weave them in and out, so I don't need to worry about a darning needle or anything like that with this particular part of the project. So when we come back, we are going to take a quick break. Let's do that, and we'll come back and do the lower jaw next. That's the ticket. What a great job. Now let's give the shark a bottom jaw, and let's get him to look even further like a shark as we move on to chapter number 4. So now we're back, and we're ready to do the lower jaw. The lower jaw is exactly the same procedures as we're going to do for the upper jaw, and there's no difference of upper and lower as I've already discussed. So right now we have our upper jaw in. I've turned it over. You can see my slip stitching that I had done on the other side. So this is considered the bottom for me. And so now, because I had you do the highlight the stitch markers on both sides of this, there is the remainder of the stitches of 40 going all the way across. So what we're going to do is we're gonna pick it up then with the stitch right after the stitch marker, so you can see it's in. So there's the next one right there, and what we're gonna do is start there and go all the way to the one just before the stitch marker, which is the last one that's left anyway. So let's begin, and let's restart the jaw, and the jaw is exactly like it was on the top, but we'll go through it anyway together because I gotta do it anyway. So let's begin this lower jaw. So I'm going to start, I don't like to waste yarn, so I am using a smaller piece. I know how to hide in loose yarn and tails anyway. And then we got another ball. This is going to be my 4th ball that I'm going to be working on with this project. So you know, this is really an Afghan all to itself when you really think about it for that element, because it is 3-dimensional. So you're going to come to the first one right directly after the stitch marker, because that one's already in the upper jaw, and we're going to come in and join just like this, and just join it with the slip stitch, chain 2, which doesn't count as anything. Leave that straggler down in position like I'd already shown you. Come into that exact same stitch you just joined to and actually do a physical half double crochet. So now I want you to come all the way across this, all the way to the stitch right before the stitch marker on the other side, which is the last one that you have available to you anyway. And I want you just to half double crochet into each one of these stitches, going all the way across. I'm now coming to the very end of the row, and I'm just half double crocheting until I run out of stitches, and the one in the stitch marker is the very next one after you run out of stitches, so it's easy to kind of see it. And this is the last one. So now that we've done that, we're going to turn our work and go for row number 2. In row number 2 we're gonna start the taper, but if you remember from the upper jaw row 3, we're just going to be this again, and then we're gonna really start the taper. So let's turn our work and go for row number 2. And just gotta move these jaws out of the way. This is the upper jaw now at this moment. So now we're just going to start off this row, and we're gonna do our taper just like we did before. So we're gonna chain up 2, which counts as nothing, and coming into the same stitch right underneath, put that one and the next one together for half double crochet together, and then you're just gonna half double crochet yourself across the stitches. The very last 2 are gonna be together. You're gonna put those half double crochet 2 together, and I'll meet you there in just a moment. Okay, in row 2, as we come out to the end, the last 2 are together. Remember that chain 2 doesn't count as anything, so don't accidentally do anything with that. So we're going to just, the next 2 are together, half double crochets of course, and that's it. So what we're going to do is turn our work, and row number 3 is just strictly half double crochet together to build it coming out of the body a little bit more as we learned in the upper jaw. So chain 2 counts as nothing, and then half double crochet into the same one and into each one going all the way down. Then when we come back we're gonna do row number 4, which is the repeat row until we get to the 18 stitches that we need in order to complete the jaw. So I want you to continue just to do this row, and I'll see you at the end, and we'll just verify that you know what you're doing, and then we'll let you do the rest of the jaw on your own. So row number 3, we're coming all the way down to the end, and remember that chain 2 doesn't count as anything, so I only have 2 more stitches left, if you can see that, and it's just a half double crochet in each. So we're gonna turn our work, and we're going to then start the repeat pattern then for the rest of this jaw. So let's turn this in a way that it makes sense. Okay, so what we have to do is that it's just like the upper jaw that we did, that you see here, we have to match exactly what you see. So we're going to chain 2, which counts as nothing, and then into the same one as a half double crochet 2 together in that one and into the next one, and you're just gonna half double crochet yourself across, and then you're going to do half double crochet 2 together on the very final 2 stitches. You're going to repeat this row over and over and over until you get a total of 18 stitches that go across, just like you did on the upper jaw here. Okay, so then eventually these 2 should be able to fold over, and they should match each other. So what I want you to do for the remainder of this jaw is that at the end put those 2 together just like I've shown you already in this tutorial, and I want you to just continue to go back and forth in the same row until you get to your 18 stitches, and then when we come back then we'll finish this jaw, and then we're gonna move on, and we're going to do the gums, which is the red part of the shark after that. So I'll see you at the end of this lower jaw. So I've just finished the bottom jaw here. Here is the upper jaw, and you can see that they match each other perfectly. So what we're going to do then is that we're going to move on, and we're going to move on to the gums in the next part of this tutorial. Okay, so we're getting a little bit closer, and of course we need to give fin-tastic some gums so that we can make some teeth for later. So let's do the gums as we move on to chapter number 5. In the next part of this tutorial, we are going to work on the gums of the shark. That's the red area, and the red area goes all the way around the shark. So we had to do both upper and lower jaw at the same time in order to be able to do it. So we're gonna follow it. It's like applying lipstick to the shark, really. And we're gonna start and we're gonna go all the way down and around and then back up and around the other side. So it's a very easy easy part to do, and what we have to just do is make sure that we keep proper counts when we're going to do so, because it'll make a difference on the teeth. So let's move along to doing the gums next, and grab your race car red. It's the Bernat Blanket Brights. So let's begin to do the gums. So the gums are going to start and they're gonna go all the way around. Okay, so it's gonna follow up around and follow down and then back around. So it's gonna do both sides of the jaw at the same time. We need to start right here. So I want you to go into the top, so just right where they're two together, and I want you to get your yarn up and create a slip knot. We're gonna be playing with single crochets. So we're going to attach with a slip stitch, just using that, and we're gonna keep this straggler down on top. So we're going to single crochet back into that same space where I just joined it. So then that completes that one, and I'm going to go across the jaw. Okay, we're gonna do 2 rounds of gums. Now I've been half double crocheting for this whole project already, so I probably will just automatically want to. So I'm gonna continue just to single crochet, and then when I get to the other side of the jaw right here, then we're gonna change something, and then we gotta go down and then back up in the other round. So let me get over to here next. So now I'm coming around the side and I'm at the top corner here, and on the top corner I need you to put in 3 single crochets there. Now we didn't do that on the other side because we are just starting this revolution, so we'll be completing this extra stitches when we get back there. Now what I need you to do is that I need you to fit 24 single crochets into this space here, 24 here, and then coming back on the top. So this may take you a few tries in order to do it, but you really do need that count of 24. So just going into the side, never go into a gapping space, go right into a chain itself. Okay, and this is 2, I'm just guessing, and then I'm going into a chain 3, and then another chain 4, and continue to do that all the way down. So continue to do that all the way down. It's probably gonna take me a couple tries in order to get my stitch counts right, in order to get 24 into this particular space. I'm just gonna show you a cheating technique that I'm doing for myself. So I'm looking at it, halfway point is about here, so I'm just gonna put a stitch marker in there for myself to know that I need, in order to get 24 single crochets in here, I need to have 12 done by this point. If I don't have 12 done by this point, I'm not gonna be able to get a 12 in by here, or another 12 to get 24. So what I want to do is that I backtracked when I was just talking to you, and now I'm gonna try to squish in 12 here and then 12 before I get to the edge right here. So that's just kind of what I'm doing. So here we go. So voila, I got my 12 in there. So I made sure I had 12 by the time I hit this spot, and then I got 12 in by the time I hit to here. So I'm not gonna fasten off, and what I'm gonna do is just flip her over, assuming it's a her, and I'm going to take out the stitch marker, and I'm again gonna do the same thing because it works for me. So I'm just gonna look at where the halfway mark is. It's just a visual cue for myself. It just helps me. That's what stitch markers are really, for helping you. So I'm just gonna put that in there, and all I'm just gonna do is start again, and I need to squeeze in another 24 single crochets from here all the way to the corner. Remember, the corner will have 3 single crochets in there again. So continue to do that on the bottom jaw. Okay, I've now squeezed in my another 24 here. I'm gonna take out my stitch marker. I'm good to go. Now I'm gonna have to do the same for the other 2 sides over here, so I'm gonna leave that for you, the same concept. So now that I'm at the top here, the next top one here is gonna have 3 single crochets in there. So 1, 2, 3, and then I'm just gonna follow this across each stitch, getting 1 single crochet, and then on the edge of this, as we hit back to the sides of the mouth, is that there's 3 single crochets in here, 24 down, 24 back, and then we are going to place 2 more single crochets right into the starting in order to complete this round. So please continue to do that, and I'll see you at the end. Do not fasten off. We're not done using red. We're gonna go one more time with red. So as you get all the way back around, I just got my 24 in here. This is where we started, and we need to put 2 more single crochets right into the same one that we started with, and then we're going to slip stitch it to the top of the first single crochet to finalize. Do not fasten off. We are going to continue this yarn one more time, going all the way around. So continuing along, then we're going to chain up 1, and right now we are the one over from the middle. So every time you hit, like, there's chain 3 spaces, or sorry, there's 3 single crochets in a corner, the middle one is always going to get 3 single crochets. Everything else is going to get single crochets. So we're not in the middle one, we're one over, so therefore we're just going to start off with the single crochet and just single crochet all the way around, like so, and then we just have to look for the edges on the upper jaws right here. Just look at it. So here, 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 and over here. All the rest of it is just 1 single crochet, and this will stabilize the gums, and then we're going to then move on to the teeth after that. So make sure you just look for those 3 single crochets on a corner and just apply 3 more single crochets into the middle one of those 3. And I will meet you at the end of this revolution. So I'm coming up all the way around by finalizing off the gums. It's 2 rounds only, and then we're gonna move on to the ferocious teeth. So if you want the PG version of the shark, we just call them gummy. Just don't put any teeth at this point, just keep it red. It's up to you on what you prefer. You know, creativity is a lot of fun. You can exercise your own ideas as you go. So what we're going to do is that we're gonna get right back to the very beginning, to the one we started with. Okay, so remember there was 3 there. We started off on the one on the side, so the last one is the one right in the middle. So that one's gonna have 3 single crochets in that one. So 1, 2, and 3. And what I need you to do is that we're going to slip stitch to the beginning single crochet, and we're gonna fasten off this yarn. So it says to join the yarn with the white at this point, but I like nice clean starts and stops. So I'm just going to fasten this off, weave in my ends, and then we're going to begin the teeth next in the next part of the chapter of this video. So let's go there and let's start the teeth next. Okay, so we cannot really call this shark gummy yet. We have to give him some teeth. So let's give him the classic look of the shark, and let's move on to chapter number 6 in doing his teeth. The next part of this tutorial, we are going to work on the teeth, and the teeth are wrapped around like the gums, and we're gonna start on one side and it's gonna wrap around the other and come around. These teeth are built differently than what you may expect, and we'll be covering that within today's tutorial. So let's cover on what to do with the teeth. So I'd like to point out something that's unusual on these teeth. You're going to notice that white dots on the photograph. Those are indicators to me as a crocheter that something is unusual happening here. And these teeth are not being built like going like single crochet, half double crochet, and being built like teeth going out. They're actually being built on their side. So what we're looking at here is that we're going to start off and we're going to chain 5. We're then going to single crochet, second chain from the hook, half double into the next, double into the next, and treble into the next, and we're going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, and 3, and slip stitch into the next one, and then we do that again, chain 5 and work our way down. So what you're looking at with these teeth here is that they're being built up on their side. So if you look at it from this point of view like this, that's how they're being built. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is that when you see these white things, these are actually the slip stitching marks of the stitches lying down on their sides. So we're going to begin at the top corner and then work our way around, and we're going to come all the way to the end doing the same thing. So let me show you how to do the teeth. It's only one round of using the white. So let's begin doing the teeth. So the middle one, okay, where you did the single crochet, is going to be the one that we start on with. So before it asks you to change the colors right at that spot, so I had to fasten off cleanly, and I'm just going to leave an extra long string this time. I'm probably gonna have to weave that in with the darning needle in order to effectively hide it. So I got a slip knot on, and I'm going to put it on like so, and let's join this with the slip knot. So let's let the straggler fall out of the way in front of me, and just join it using the yarn going to the yarn ball. So now we're going to chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Coming second chain from the hook, single crochet. The next one is next chain down is going to be half double crochet. So you know how to do that. You've been doing that the whole thing. Then double crochet is in the next chain, and then finally we're gonna treble. So wrap that hook twice for the final chain, and there's a tooth right there. Okay, isn't that cool? So you're gonna come back down to the line and just skip over 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, slip stitch into the 4th. So just pull through and through. Okay, so there is your tooth now lying down right where it should. And because you're crocheting on this side, the tooth is gonna want to go on the inside. So instead of having a shark with the teeth actually facing outward, they're actually gonna face down and into the project, so that, you know, it gives the illusion that somebody's being eaten or swallowed. So we're gonna chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then second chain from the hook, single crochet, next chain is double, or sorry, half double, and the next one is a double. Sometimes my hooks don't do the same thing. And then the next one is a treble. So wrap that hook twice and going into the final chain that's available to you as you work your way down. Then coming back down here, you skip again. So 1, 2, 3, go to the 4th, slip stitch. Okay, so there is another tooth just like that. So what I want you to do is go all the way around and just continue all the way around the gums and fill it in with teeth, and that's what you're gonna do for this round. So I'm coming up all the way around. I have 1 extra stitch left over that if I go over and I only go 3, I got 1 left over. If that happens to you, that's not a deal breaker to me. Have you ever seen a shark with perfect teeth? Not a real one, that's for sure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what I want to do is that I'm just going to flub it, in the sense that I'm just going to, why would you frog out all the teeth just because you're off by 1? Nobody's in their right mind is gonna do that. And you know what, once you get with this project, you're not gonna worry about it either. You know, a child isn't really necessarily gonna sit there and count the stitches, and if they do, they got nothing else better to do. So here we go, and so I should have only skipped over 3. So 1, 2 and 3. So I'm just going to then just join it to the beginning one there. So just reach right over and do it just like there. So what I want to do at this point is that I want to trim that off, but what I want to pay attention to is that there's really nothing for me to secure that in without using a darning needle. So I know that from an experienced crocheter, because I could see that, you know, you're only attached in a few spaces here. So what I would recommend then is using a darning needle is to hide in the loose ends. So I've shown you how to do that before, when we've done that before. So what I want to do is just throw this yarn onto a darning needle, pull it through. This is a little needle. It's pretty sharp though. So what I want to just do is glide it back and forth underneath the stitches inside a post. Okay, so 1. So go in and out 3 times. So 1, going in a different space but in the other direction for 2, and finally going back in a different space but in the other direction for 3. So now you can officially cut that off right there, and do the same with the other stitch, other one that I had started with, and that would be good to go. So this would be completing the teeth, and now the teeth are really starting to make this thing look real, and the teeth are so incredibly soft because it's Bernat blanket yarn. But you know, I had this idea that when I saw the teeth in the photo that these would be hard, but I don't even know what I was thinking. So let's move on to the next part of this tutorial. Let's do that next. Perfect. Now you have a cocoon with teeth. Now let's move on and give him some eyes, and let's do the outer eye first for chapter number 7. So let's move along. In today's tutorial we're going to do the outer eye, which is white here. For tutorial reasons I'm going to leave the shark in behind the scenes because you'll never see the white, and we need to make 2 of these, and these are the white of the eyes of the shark. Let's show you how to make those next, and make sure that when you're done this you leave an extra long strand attached because you're going to use that to sew it down to your shark. What I recommend when we get this far is that we're going to do the other eye, which is then going to be positioned. You're going to sew this eye to this eye and then this eye to the project. So let's begin to do the outer eye next. So let's begin. We are going to start off with our vintage white that we have, and we are going to start off with a slip knot, and we're going to chain 4. So we're going to do that. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're gonna go once around this whole thing to make a circle, and we're just gonna come to the very first chain that you see here, and we're going to apply 11 double crochets into the first chain, and this will cause it to circle around the middle. Okay, so that was 1 and 2. Leave that straggler down in position so you can go right up over top of it. This was 3, 4, this is 5, 6, this is 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Now remember we had that kind of chain thing right in the middle, so it's gonna give you a total of 12 of these posts. So let's count those together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we're just gonna slip stitch to the top of the very first chain there, and that'll conclude this one. So we've got to do one more round of this, and then the white of the eyes are done, and make sure you make 2 of these. So let's begin the next round. To begin the next round, you just got to chain 1, and then into each stitch around you're gonna apply 2 single crochets into each one. So that'll give you a total count of 24. So just keep moving around and apply 2 single crochets into every one, and when you're done this, I want you to leave an extra long yarn tail, and you're gonna use that yarn tail to sew it directly onto your project at a later time. So you're gonna do this and put it aside. The designer has written this pattern in the sense that we're working from the front of the body and working to the tail as your final. So we're working our way back, and that's why the eyes are next. So continue to do 2 single crochets into each stitch going all the way around. So then coming up to the final that we have, 2 into each. You know, even if you put even if you screwed up and put another one in there like you shouldn't have, it's not really gonna matter because it's such a fluffy yarn. So you're just gonna slip stitch to the top of the beginning single crochet that you started with, and that's it. So you're gonna have 2 of these. So leave an extra long string. This will be your sewing in string, just like so, and I want you to pull that loop through like this and leave that. So what you're gonna have is that you're gonna do 2 of these, and then we'll have 2 eyes to work with, and these are the whites of the eyes. So let's move along in this tutorial. The next chapter is the inner eye. So let's move him on and give him a little bit more personality, and let's give him some pupils for his eyes as we move on to chapter number 8. So let's begin our next chapter. We are moving along to the inner eye. This is the black area here. It's called coal, and it's just a smaller version of the other eye. So it's a little bit of a different stitch technique, but where you place these on top of the whites of the eyes is basically up to you and how you want the character to look. So let's make 2 of these eyes, which are the black section of the eyes. Let's move along. So let's begin, and we're gonna create a slip knot. And this is just 1 round only, and what I need you to do is that you're gonna start off with your slip knot, and you're gonna chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Now what I want you to do is that I want you to do 12 half double crochets in the first chain right where I'm wiggling right there, and I want you to put 12 half double crochets all the way around. So 1, we're not gonna worry about that other chain area. 2, 3, and this is 4, and this is 5. Let me just release more yarn. That's 5, and we got 6, this is 7, 8, 9, 10, and just make room if you don't have enough room, 11 and 12. So we have a little bit of an issue here that you'll see. If I pull this out of the way, you're gonna see a hole right through it. We cannot have that. So I want you to slip stitch to the very beginning on where you started to finalize that circle and leave it. So now that we have this, we are not quite done. We have a hole right in the center of the eye. We do not want that. So what we're gonna do is, before we apply this to the white area of the eye, I want you just to strategically, with this leftover strand, I want you just to come into the project. So turn it over to the back side, and I want you just to feed it through, and I want you just to go back to the center and across the center to the other side right there. And what this will do is that, and you don't need to pull on it too tight because you don't want to distort the eye, but what's gonna happen is that you're gonna come back across. So just whip stitch back across and then back over to another side on a diagonal. And what you're doing here is that you're just closing off that center eye. It's just like the final touches, so you should not be able to see through this eye. So now what I want you to do is just feed this yarn back to the outside edge of where you were, and now you don't have to apply any other strands. Just use this strand, and then at a later time you're going to use the same strand. You are going to sew it to the white, and then once you have that done, you're then gonna sew this white to the project, and then when you do that, we'll have to meet back up. And this is one of those things, you look at the photograph and you match it. The straggler, because you buried it as you went, you can just simply just trim that out. And please make 2 of these, and then we're gonna move along to the next part of this project. Okay, so now it's getting exciting. We're gonna give him the most iconic shape of a shark, and that's the fin. He's really coming together now, and let's move on to chapter number 9. In the next part of this tutorial, we're going to work on the fin of the shark, and the fin is actually really easy to make, and it's like a triangle, but it's only growing on one side to give you that perfect edge shape that you need. So we're coming back to our diagram. So the flat edge is on the front side, and then this tapers out to the back. So this is the front side of the shark. This is going toward the tail, so it will taper back. So this fin is not yet done. I still have to trace it with a single crochet going up and then back down, and then just fasten off here. So when we go to crochet this, we're gonna turn this upside down. We're gonna start right at the top of the fin and work our way back. So this row here, we're always just 1 single crochet on here, but every time we hit this side, we're gonna put 2 single crochets on the edge. And so there's a repeat pattern. There's a total of 22 of these rows that will get you right to the top. If you make it a little bit bigger or shorter, you know, it's no big deal. It's basically, if you can do 22, that's what the pattern's asking for. So every time you get to this side of the pattern, you're going to add 2 single crochets into the very final stitch, and you're gonna start up and put 2 single crochets, and then 1 single crochet all the way to the edge, then chain up 1 single crochet out back, and then when you get back to the edge, you're gonna put 2 in there. So every time it's on this side, you're gonna apply 2 single crochets into that, and it will give you this sweeping look like this, and it will keep this relatively flat, just like this. So let's start our fin. We're gonna create a slip knot, and we are going to chain 2. Okay, so remember the first one on the hook never counts as 1. So we have 1 and 2, and let's begin row number 1. It says 2 single crochets, second chain from the hook. Well, second is the only one that's left, so you're just gonna apply 2 single crochets into that first one. So 1 and 2, and that's row number 1. So let's begin and just keep it nice and simple. Just pull everything nice and tight. Let's turn our work and go for row number 2. It says to chain 1 and 1 single crochet into the first single crochet, just like there, and in the next one, which is the only one left, is gonna be 2 single crochets into that one. So 1 and 2, just like that. Let's turn our work and do number 3. So number 3 and 4 are gonna be the repeat patterns all throughout. So number 3, it's a start, so it's gonna be 2 in the beginning. So chain up 1, and there's going to be 2 single crochets into the very start one, and then 1 single crochet into all the remaining, which is only 2 in there. Okay, so we turn our work and go for number 4. So number 4 is gonna be the ending, so we chain up 1 and 1 single crochet into each, except for the very final one where we're going to have 2. So the next one is the last one. So 1 and 2, just like that. So let's turn our work and go for next. So it says to repeat rows 3 and 4 a total of 9 times. So this is row number 5, and I'm just gonna repeat a couple times for you. So number 5 is in the start, so chain up 1, and it's 2 single crochets right in the beginning, and then all the rest are just 1 single crochet each. Does that make sense? You got it? So this is number 5. turn and work, go for number 6. Okay, so number 6 is a repeat of number 4, which means that the expansion is on the other side. So we just chain up one single crochet into each, except for the very final one where we'll put 2 into that final. So you can see that the shark's fin is starting to take shape. One side is going to be flat, the other side is going to have the traditional look of a shark's fin. So you're going to put 2 single crochets right into the end. Let's just do a couple more repeats. So that was 1 out of 9 times that we repeated the pattern. So let's do it 2 out of 9 times. So chain up 1, and this is going to repeat number 3. So it's 2 single crochets into the first, and then 1 single crochet into all the rest, just like that. Okay, and then turning our work. So this is a repeat. So this is going to be row number 7. So it's going to be at the end. Okay, so this is chain up 1 single crochet in the first, and then you just do that all the way to the other side, and the last one will have 2 single crochets into the last one. So you can see the triangles starting to take shape. I want you to continue to repeat this over and over and over, and you saw my repeating instructions, and you also can see it in the pattern. There's a total of 22 rows altogether by the time you get to the end. So that was, we repeated it exactly twice. So 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So now I need you to repeat in order 7 more times that same thing, and then we're gonna meet back at the bottom, and then we're gonna do a whole rotation around in order to create a really nice look. So let's continue to do that, and I'll see you back at the end of row number 22. So I'm now ready to trace my fin with a single crochet. So I don't need to go across the bottom, I only need to go up and then back down. Top one, we're gonna put 5 single crochets in here. Because this is single crochet line, every line will get 1 single crochet as you progress forward. So you can just start up, and you're just gonna go right into the first stitch, and you're just gonna apply, just like to the side of it, just apply down a row, just 1 single crochet. There's no exact science to it. If you look at it, it's gonna stay into the same spot each time. Use your fingertips to feel where it is. Like that's kinda, I squish it and I can feel the hole. Okay, so just work your way up one side and down the other. This will give a beautiful look and finalization. Now for those that would prefer their fin to stand up, you could do 2 of these and then put some polyfill in the middle, like some stuffing, and then just sew it strategically onto your shark so that you can have your fin stand completely up if you prefer that. You know, this is a snuggle sack. You know, do you want that if the child's actually sleeping? I don't know. It might be something that's kind of uncomfortable, especially if the child's still sleeping and wants to roll over in the sleeping stack. It will prevent that, and it will be kind of uncomfortable. So you have to make a call based on your own creativity and what you prefer. Maybe you have to ask your kids, what do they prefer, something more solid or something more that will bend out of the way. The top of the one, we're going to put 5 single crochets in. Now I'm running into a straggler. I'm gonna go right up over top of it so that it buries it underneath, so I don't have to worry about it. So that was your 5, and now let's work down the other side. So I'm gonna leave that straggler down on top of the line and bury that as I go. We're gonna do the same of tracing the tail, and it does provide that really nice look. So I've got that in enough, I can just safely cut that out and just continue to single crochet down the other side. So you don't need to redo the bottom because you were already there, and it will look completely finished at that point. So just continue to do that. Might as well take you there, I'm almost done. The fins and the tails do not take too long. Now you'll notice that the shark does not have any side fins. You could do 2 more of these if you wanted to, and apply it to the shark if you wanted to. That's completely your business. It's your creativity. There is no fins applied for this as well. So we're coming up down to the end, and I'm gonna go right to the bottom. Now I want to leave an extra long tail, so like tail for yarn, tail and shark. So I want to come into the top one here, just pull it through with a slip stitch, leave this extra long so you can use this strand to sew it right directly onto your project. So just with this, just pull it through. Okay, so it kind of locks it into position, and use that strand then to sew. Now I buried this in enough times at the top, so what I can just do now is safely say this is my fin for the shark. I could just stretch and just make it work, and this is what the fin will look like at the end. So let's move along to the next part of this chapter, and it's the tail that is next. Okay, we're almost there. We got to give him a tail yet. So let's work on the tail together, and let's move on to chapter number 10. So welcome to the next chapter. We're going to finally do the tail. So the tail is one of the ones I was looking forward to the most, and of course it's the last thing to do because the designer was moving from the front to the back. The tail consists of 2 of these triangle shapes here in order to be put together. So once we get one done, we do another, we sew it together, and then we trace it with some single crochet around to give this the shape that you're going to need. Now this is a kind of an unusual one here because this is not the same shape as the shark fin. Okay, so we have that up here. This is slightly different. So what's gonna happen on here is that when we go to start it, let me turn these the way that I would have started it here, and this one would be here. Okay, so it doesn't matter which way I look at it. Okay, I'll just do it like that. Actually, I'll do it like that because that's what it looks like in the pattern. So what we have here is that we're going to just strategically grow this out, but you can see it doesn't have the massive taper like this because not every row do we add 2 single crochets at the end. We have to strategically start, and then there's a repeat pattern, and I'm gonna show you a diagram. Once we get to a certain amount, there's about 29 rows I believe on this one, is that we're going to start tapering on this side here, and this is the middle of the shark and the back end, and so when we apply this you can see that it has the indentation of the back of the fin just like this, just the back of the tail. So let's begin, and let me show you a diagram, and then we'll begin from that point. So I'm showing my diagram here, and what's gonna happen, we're gonna start up, and these numbers on these sides represent the rows. So there's 29 rows going all the way, and their space here means nothing. It just, I was trying to respace myself because my writing was getting out of control. So what we have here is that we have a repeat patterning going on, and in the first 1 to 8 rows we're always increasing on the final stitch. Okay, so from about here to here, so the very final on this side will have always 2 single crochets in there to keep that balance. Once we get to row number 9, what's gonna happen is that every other row, one row will be just strictly single crochet, and the other one will just strictly be a single crochet 2 times in the one side only. So you'll have your flat edge like you see here, and then this side will continue to grow. Now because it's every other row, this taper is not as severe as the top of the fin of the ship, or of the ship. I'm thinking of Carnival, but the fin of the shark. And I was thinking, to my point of view, is that this is how you get this nice shape without actually worrying about it too much. So what's gonna happen is that we need to repeat the rows of 9 and 10 over and over and over and over until you get to row number 26, and then after row 26 I put a line there, and we're going to decrease then 3 rows in a row on one side to give you this kind of edge right here. So what's gonna happen here is that we're gonna start off, and I'm going to get you to a certain point, and then I'm gonna tell you to repeat. You can take a screenshot of the monitor right now if you would like to have this diagram. It's just I did it for myself. Even if you get it wrong in some way, as long as you lay both fins down and they match each other, and then you sew them in the middle, I think you're gonna be okay. Just make sure your fin's not, or your tail feather your tail is not too small. So let's begin to do the next part of this tutorial. Let's grab your yarn and let's try this. So let's start doing the fin together, and we're going to do a slip knot. Okay, we're going to start off by chaining 2. Remember, that does not count as a stitch or a chain. So we're gonna chain 2, 1 and 2. First chain from the hook, this is gonna be row number 1, is going to put 2 single crochets in there. Okay, so that was second chain from the hook, sorry if I didn't say that right. So there we go. So that's it. That's row number 1, and we're gonna just pull things a little tight and continue. Let's just turn our work and go for row number 2. Row number 2, we're going to establish what side is growing and what side is gonna stay flat. So we're gonna just chain up 1, and this side is gonna stay flat, so it's gonna be 1 single crochet only. The next side is gonna have 2 single crochets. So the expansion is going to happen on this side of the project here. Let's turn our work and go for number 3. In number 3, In number 3 we're going to chain up 1, and the expansion is still going to happen on this side of the fin or this side of the tail, and you're going to apply 2 single crochets into that first one and then 1 into each of the remaining ones. So this side where I'm heading to now is going to stay flat right here. Let's turn our work and go for row number 4. So row number 4 we're going to chain up 1 single crochet in the first one to keep this edge flat, and then 1 single crochet into each until the very final of where you're going to put 2 single crochets into the final. 1 and 2. Okay, that was row number 4. Turn our work, let's go for row number 5. I'm just checking this off as I go. Row number 5, this is the expansion side, so we're gonna chain up 1 and apply 2 single crochets into the final or into the first one, and then 1 into each one of the next ones. So this is row number 5. Just like that. Turn and work, let's do number 6. So number 6 we're starting on the side that's considered flat. This is the expansion side here. So we're going to chain up 1 just like that, and then just 1 single crochet in each across until the final. Where there's going to be 2 single crochets into the final. Just like that. Okay, so that was number 6. Let's turn our work, do number 7. So number 7 we're gonna still expand on this side, so chain up 1 single crochet, sorry, 2 into the first one, I apologize for that, we're still expanding, and then 1 single crochet into each. So that was row number 7. We're finally approaching row number 8 before the story is gonna change on this thing. So we're just getting ourselves started, and then we're gonna have the triangle shape relax itself a little bit. Okay, let's turn our work and go for number 8. So just chain up 1 and 1 single crochet right into the end, except for the last one, it's gonna have 2. So then the storyline is gonna change now. We're gonna start from row number 9 and 10, and that's gonna be the repeat pattern for several rows until we get to what we need to do. Okay, so the very final here is going to have 2 single crochets right in the end. So let's begin, and if you look at the other one that we started with, is like you can see it matches each other just like that. So let's move along and let's try rows number 9 and 10. So I need you to repeat what you're about to see 7 more times after you do this first, you do it first time. So we're going to start up first, and row number 9 is just chain up 1 and 1 single crochet into each. So 1, I don't even have to count it. So your goal is to look and make sure that you get all the way to 18. So you're just expanding slowly when you go to do that. So this is row number 9, just strictly 1 single crochet all the way across. Turn and work, let's do row number 10. So row number 10 we are going to expand on this side only. Okay, so let's just chain up 1 and we start off with just 1 single crochet into each except for the very final. So the easiest way to remember this is every time you head back towards this side of the work where it's expanding, you're always gonna apply 2 single crochets into the final stitch. It's an easy way to remember that. And then what I would continue to do if it were me is that I would kind of eye it up, and then once you get your 18 you know you can stop. So the very final stitch is gonna be 2 single crochets. So you just have to repeat the last 2 rounds or rows 7 more times. So I'm just gonna do one with you again. So let's go back to row number 9, chain up 1 single crochet into each. So I'm just repeating this just to show you. So 1 single crochet into each, and then once you get that done, turn your work, chain up 1 single crochet into each except for the final. This is repeating of row number 10, and the final is gonna have 2 single crochets, and you can tell it's going back to the area that is jutting out. So if you remember that, you know to do it. So what I want you to do is I want you to repeat that till you do get up to row 26 or to 18 stitches just in case you don't get it right. I think it's gonna be row 26. I'm pretty sure of it. So the very final one is gonna be 2 single crochets. So I've just repeated that with you now. Now you just need to repeat 6 more times from this point, and then I'll meet you at the top where I'll show you how to do the decrease for the nice shaping. So let's start the decreasing of the tail. So I got my stitches I need here, and I need to jet it in, and it's just like the original sample. I need to jet it in just a little bit just to give it shaping right at the base. So what we have to do here is that we have to watch where the jetting in happens on the flat side. Okay, so when we look at it, it's gonna happen over here. So we're gonna start off this row, which is the next row starting after you've have all the repeats done. You're just gonna chain up 1 and 1 single crochet into each, except for the very final 2 is that we're going to do 2 together. Okay, so we're gonna do a decrease to get rid of some stitches out in order to create that shape. Okay, so the very final 2 stitches, go in, pull through, go in, pull through to the next one, and pull through together, and that just becomes 1. So that's 1 of 3 that you have to do. So the next one we're gonna start up and we're gonna jet in even more. So we're gonna chain up 1, the very first stitch, pull through, the very next stitch, pull through, and those are gonna be 2 together. So that's gonna jet it in even more, and then 1 single crochet into each across. So when we come back, we're going to turn around and just do 1 more row, and that's it for the tail, and then we're gonna start doing some assembly, putting the tail together, the 2 pieces, and then we're gonna do some tracing with single crochet in order to really give it a nice look. And the tail has been something I've been looking forward to the whole tutorial. I have been crocheting this real time in behind all of the filming. I have to say that I started 2 nights ago and I'm almost done. So this project hasn't really taken me that long, which I'm really quite surprised with. So chain up 1 and just 1 single crochet into each. So you notice we never expanded this time around on this side. And on the other side, what we have to do is that we have to decrease by 2 stitches. Okay, the final 2 stitches are gonna be coming up next. So that one, there it is, that's all there. So this stitch plus the next one, this is the final, are gonna come together. So that's it. So you're done this side of the tail. The other side of the tail is done. Leave an extra long tail on here because you're gonna wanna sew together things. Just pull through. And now you need to do 2 of these. So go and do another one. And then when we come back, what we're going to do then is that we're going to apply the 2 tails together, and we're gonna put them together with a whip stitch across, and this will be what the tail looks like then, and then we're gonna trace it then with single crochet in order to refine the edges. So let's move along and do the whip stitching next. Okay, the first thing I want to do is that I left 2 extra long strands here, 1 on each side, because you know I did. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of 1 of them. I only need 1 of these strands in order to do it. So all I'm just gonna do is that I'm gonna take that 1 strand and just weave it in and out of the section here, and we're gonna catch that when we go to sew it together anyway. So you only need 1 strand in order to whip stitch these together. Just you never know when you're working on these things what you need, so you just, you know, for an extra couple feet of yarn, no big deal. So I'm just gonna do that, and then I'm just gonna pull and get rid of that out, so that's out of my way. So now I'm going to put these together. So you gotta make sure that this edge here is going to be toward the head of the body. Okay, it looks like it's relatively flat here. The tail will attach here, and then what's gonna happen, this indentation is toward the back of the shark. So what you're gonna do now is just grab your other yarn strand that was on there, and you're going to whip stitch these together. Okay, so let's do some whip stitching. So just put it onto a needle and just go straight across from each other. There should be the same amount of stitches that are available to you, so just match what you see. So just going right straight across, just jump it over and pull. So then just jump over and pull, and jump over It doesn't matter, like you can go this way if you prefer, but I just happen to do that way, which is kind of unusual for me to do it in that direction. But if you just whip stitch these together, just matching stitch to stitch, you will end up with the right amount of stitches at the end. If you're off by one, just happen to be, don't worry about it too much. Just kind of, you know, use your needle and some fancy footwork and do what you need to do in order to get it. Never try to frog as much as people try to. I think with this particular project, I think because it's such fluffy yarn, you can get away with a lot of probably imperfections without you even noticing it at the end if you forget about it. So just continue to whip stitch all the way across, and I'll show you how to finish this off. So I'm coming up near to the end of the whip stitching of the two panels to come together. They're matching. And I want to get rid of this yarn strand altogether when I'm done. Okay, so I don't need it anymore, so just whip. So I'm gonna go around that same one more time, and this time I'm just gonna feed it through a loop. Kind of locks that into position. And then what I want to do with the strand is that I just want to glide it in underneath some fibers. Just go right into the fibers. A nice sharp needle does wonders, pulling it through, and just make sure that you don't make it contract too much, and then go back in the other direction through a different path. Okay, so there's my third time going through, and now that it's in and out 3 times, it'll never fall out of my work. Okay, just pull things before you trim, and then I can trim right there, and I'm going to be ready then to trace the whole tail that's now complete all the way around, and let's do that next. So let's begin to trace the tail. If you noticed in the photograph, the tail actually looks really finished. You'll see it has a beautiful edging. It's got a single crochet all the way around. The ones on the edge points here have 5 single crochets in. The rest of it is just all 1 single crochet. So when you're looking at it from this point of view, it's just all 1 single crochet except for the edge. It's gonna be 5, and the edge is gonna be 5. I'm gonna start in the middle. It doesn't say where to start. I think it doesn't really matter too much, just as long as you get your 5 in the end. So let's begin to do that. So let's attach, and just creating another slip knot, and I'm just gonna go right in the middle here, and I'm just gonna apply 1 single crochet. Now you were doing single crochet rows, so every row equals a single crochet. Okay, that's the advantage about single crochet. So just attach, chain 1, 1 single crochet in to the same spot, and then you're ready to go. Leave the straggler down on top, so just go in the ends of a row, and every row equals 1 single crochet in the rules of crochet. Use your fingertips to kind of feel where the holes are, so I can kind of feel, and just going in, trapping that straggler into position as you go, and you can do a nice traced border using single crochet all the way around. So continue just to do 1 single crochet all the way around. On the tips of the tail, make sure there's 5. Follow it all the way back up, go all the way around to the other side here, put 5 here, come around and finish. So do 1 single crochet in each all the way around. So I'm coming up all the way around. I've done my tips just like you see here. You can see both sides, and then I'm just going to finish off in the beginning, and I'm just going to do a slip stitch to the beginning single crochet that I wanted, or that I started with, and that's it. So what I'm just gonna do, because this is the very end of the project and nothing else will go over top of this, I am going to take a darning needle, and I am going to hide that into position, that final one. So there's certain things on the projects that you have to be conscientious of that. Are you doing any more with it? If not, then you really got to take an effort to do it. Like if you just weave it in, you know that's gonna fall out. You know, you get a kid jumping in and out of this thing. So you want to take care of those little details that just make it life a lot easier. So just going in and out underneath the stitches, if you go in and out 3 times, you can pretty well guarantee it will never fall out. So 1, going in a different path for 2, and different path for 3. So just in and out 3 times, and now we are now ready to begin to assemble the eyes and the fins to your project. Okay, let's go like that, and hopefully you can take care of any tip ends that you had. I buried it as I went with mine, so I know that that's good. I can cut those out, and I can do that on both sides. So now the tail is now ready for assembly, and right where it's at the top here, this is where it's going to attach. This is the back end of the shark, and now it's all about whip stitching things to be able to put it together. So let's begin to do that process next. It's my favorite time. It's assembly time. Yes, we are almost done. Let's put our shark together and give him some life. So we're now at that part of the tutorial. You are going to have your eyes, the whites done. You're going to have the center of the eyes itself, okay, the pupils. You will have the shark fin done. You will have your tail all completely ready and assembled, ready to go. And then you will have your body. So what we're going to do then is that we're going to look at the photograph. So I've showed you how to whip stitch in this video several times. So what you want to do is just match this photograph to what you need to do. So obviously the tail is going to go to the tail. You were just going to match everything. Keep this in line. Know what is up and what's down. For myself, I left in my stitch marker to tell me which is the back side. So when I'm going to look at it here, I'm going to turn it around. There's those teeth, and I'm just going to fold it back. So I'm just going to look. Let's do the eyes. So the eyes, I'm going to sew the black to the white. So I left on an extra tail and then use this white then to go, and I'm going to use it. Now do you notice that the eyes here look like they're oval shaped even though they were circles in the pattern? That's because when they were sewn, the person that did it more of an oval shape and just sewed it together like that. That's up to you, the way that you want to handle that. So looking at it here, you can see the kind of looking at where the teeth were. You can see that one eye was kind of right about there. Okay, and the pupils will be on top of it like so. If you want to shift them and make them look cuter, bring them more closer in, that's completely up to you. Again, this is your creativity then lighting on fire. So you can have two eyes there obviously like so. If you want to leave them in the center, you can. If you would prefer down, it makes a huge difference on the cuteness. Once you get that done, if you want to do the eyes first, you just leave your eyes and they're just circled down. So where is the fin? So if you look at the line in the pattern, you'll see that this is kind of where the jaw started. So I can go 1, 2, 3, I'm counting the rows. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what I want to do is go right down in the center, and let's see where the fin is going to go. So just count back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And that's where the fin goes. Now if you're not happy with where the fin's going and you want to change the direction, make sure that this is the front of the shark. It's going to be staying flat. If you want to move it and move it further back, that's kind of up to you. And then you're going to work to the end of your project and you're going to do it. So what I would recommend for this is that, because I'm a little kind of anal with this stuff, is that I would actually measure what is the middle of the shark. Okay, so it's 17 inches. Okay, so I would measure right in the middle, 17. Okay, so they're right about there. Okay, and then I would see that this is about yay long. So then I would measure back, and what I would do is put in stitch markers from that point. So 16, so it's 8.5. So I would just put in a stitch marker at the 8.5 mark right here, and that'll indicate to me where that is. And then what I would do is, like I'm just putting it underneath and then measuring further back. Okay, again right in the center, and another stitch marker at the 8.5. And again, just look at it, see does it make sense, and if you have to adjust, you have to adjust. There you go, right about there. So pull it away. Does it make sense? And get your fin back. If it was there, would it make sense? Okay, so that's something that you have to do for yourself, and to put things together, just whip stitch everything together. So just using the long strand here, just go in a straight line. If you need to put down a line, for example a longer line than what you have, so just use your strands. Okay, so if you're gonna say from here, I'm just talking out loud here, I'm just giving you ideas. So I would go like here and just put it here underneath, and therefore you got a straight line that's going in. So if you keep to that straight line as you whip stitch in, you're gonna have it so it matches. Again, that's completely up to you on how you want to execute that as well. Your shark is now done. You've mastered making your own fantastic sleep and snuggle sack. Congratulations to you. Now, on behalf of my friends at Yarnspirations.com, as well as myself, Mikey of thecrochetcrowd.com, thank you so much for joining me today, and we're going to have more sleep sacks available to you. Just stay tuned to this YouTube channel, and of course, whenever we have free patterns, you can obviously count on our channel to be part of it. Until next time, have a great day, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.